Right friends, welcome back to Learning Space. This is comprehension and vocabulary discussion, and this is editorial of Economic Times of 23rd March. This is health policy, now to walk the talk, and tomorrow we are going to deliberate on battery storage for renewable power. This is article of Economic Times editorial today. Today's Economic Times editorial we are going to deliberate tomorrow, and this 23rd editorial we are discussing today. This is with regard to new health policy, and before going ahead, one should have clear idea about what are salient features of new health policy. Please understand, our previous health policy pertains to 2002. After 15 years, government announced new health policy 2017, and in fact initial 2002 health policy promised government expenditure as percentage of GDP to 2%, government's expenditure as percentage of GDP to 2% by 2010. It was promised in the health policy of 2002, but it could not be achieved. As on date also, the government's total expenditure is 1.15% of GDP, which is quite you can say which is totally not sufficient. And what are the salient features of health policy? Government promised that it will reach the government expenditure of 2.5% of GDP from the present 1.15% by 2025. So, within 8 years, from 2017 to 2025, government's health expenditure as a percentage of GDP will go up from 1.15% to 2.5%. That is one thing as per this national health policy. Second important achievement, or you can say important as per this national health policy, is all the families will get a health card, and at the same time electronic health record will be available. All the citizens will have electronic health record, right? And free drugs, diagnostics, emergency and essential services will be given to all, and government wants to eliminate certain diseases with a specific time frame, tuberculosis by 2025, which is most difficult task. Then in the case of chronic diseases like diabetes, then cancer, then cardiovascular diseases, 25% reduction in premature deaths by 2025, and access to safe water and sanitation to all by 2020. So, here the difficult tasks are, this 6 point is most difficult, probably it may not be possible. Then eliminating tuberculosis by 2025, probably this may not be possible. That is why if you see the heading of the editorial, walk the talk. What is the meaning of walk the talk? Government has made several promises through this national health policy, but the important issue is government should keep up the promises. That is why walk the talk is used, right? And if you look at other aspects, there are several other aspects, please go through them. So, these are as per the new health policy. Most important is to reduce out of pocket expenditure. Whatever the expenditure in our country, almost 2/3 comes from our pocket. If people are becoming ill, if 100 crores are spent in the country, 65 to 70 crores are coming from our pockets, because that is the reason why several families, or you can say this is the reason precisely why several families are not able to come out of poverty. So, out of pocket expenditure is very high. If you look at the national health accounts for 2013-14, which are available recently, the total health expenditure was 4,53,000 crores in the country for the year 2013-14, and this capital expenditure is 7%. That means for creation of assets it is 7%, and current expenditure is 4,21,000 crores, and out of which household expenditure is 73%. Out of household expenditure, if you remove something paid by insurance companies, almost 65% is paid from our pocket, and government, if you see, state government and central government put together, it is total 20% of current expenditure, just 20%. So, almost 65% of the health expenditure is coming from our pockets. That is why several families are strained because of illness. And if you look at, out of rupees 10 spent on health, 4 rupees goes towards medicine. Please understand, out of 10 rupees spent on health, at least medicine, universal health coverage was brought within just 1 year to 75% of the population. Right, having learned this, let us go to the passage. Health policy. Now to walk the talk. What is the meaning of walk the talk? Please keep up the promise. Walk the talk means this is used only for the people at high positions. Only for the people at high positions, this is used basically to do the things what they have promised. So, to keep up the promise by the people at high positions is walk the talk. Please remember this word, quite often you come across this. So, walk the talk is for the high positions people like chief minister, like ministers, like prime minister, they have to do the things as per promise, that is the walk the talk, right. Here the scope is large. As per new health policy, the scope is quite large. The means at sparse. Sparse means not sufficient. There are two meanings for sparse. Sparse is thinly dispersed or scattered. You see, in the hilly areas, you can say the density of the population is quite sparse, and the other meaning is scanty or in short supply, or you can say not sufficient to meet the needs, then only you have to use sparse. So, sparse means scanty or in short supply. India should make use of sparse petroleum reserves and should utilize petroleum products in the most optimal way to reduce dependence on imports. So, sparse means scanty or in short supply. So, here please go back to the paragraph. The scope is large, the means at sparse. The means are not sufficient. So, that is why the editorial says, now to walk the talk, please keep up the promise. The broad roadmaps go, as broad roadmaps go, the National Health Policy 2017 is comprehensive. What is the meaning of comprehensive? Several times we come across this word. Comprehensive means to look at it in totality, not in isolation. So, comprehensive, that means dealing with the elements or all the aspects of something. So, when we are looking at various aspects in totality, by looking at all the aspects in complete perspective, then it is comprehensive. So, if you look at our diet, daily what we are eating, it should be comprehensive, means it should have cereals, proteins, vitamins, minerals, then only you can say that the food is comprehensive, that means sufficient in totality. So, I gave an example. In India, malnutrition cannot be solved in isolation, and all the departments must put together a comprehensive action plan. So, here look at it, as broad roadmaps go, the National Health Policy is comprehensive. It sets access to, it is talking about the various aspects of National Health Policy. It is comprehensive, that means it looked at all the aspects. It sets access to affordable, comprehensive and quality health care for all as a priority for the government. Fine, the policy is fine, but the biggest problem is to walk the talk, right. So, if the government is able to walk the talk or not, that is the main crux of this editorial. Sensibly, it stops short of making health care a justiciable right. That means, it is just short of making it a fundamental right. Education is fundamental right up to certain age, 14 years. So, it just stops short of making health care a fundamental right or justiciable right, right. So, it has taken all the aspects into consideration, but it is coming close to making it a fundamental right. That is the meaning of this sentence. It has not made it a fundamental right, but it is coming close to making it a fundamental right. So, sensibly, it stops short of making health care a justiciable right and focuses instead, it focuses on pathways to universalize affordable and quality health care. So, it is looking at pathways. Pathways means set of actions that one take in life. Set of actions that one take in life is known as pathways, pathways to progress. Quite frequently you come across in passages. Good education and nutrition during the childhood are pathways to happy life. And universalize, universalize means relating to all the people or things in the world or in a particular group. That means, when you are looking at universalization, it must be accessible to all the people of the country. So, universalization means making it accessible to all the people is universalization. India gave universal adult suffrage. Voting rights were given universally in India after independence. Universal adult suffrage means adult voting rights were given at that time. Whoever completed 21 years were given voting rights. At that time, the education in our country, literacy in our country was around 17–18%. Even then, India has gone for universal adult suffrage from the first general elections after independence, much ahead of most of the advanced nations, right. So, universalization means to make it happen across the spectrum, right. So, pathways to universalize. Milestones, milestones means the targets, when to achieve what, that is the milestone. The target indicating when to achieve what is a milestone, right. So, here this is also milestone, please understand, but when we are fixing targets with target dates, they are known as milestones, right. Let us come back to the passage. Here the passage says, instead focuses on pathways to universalize affordable and quality health care. It sets milestones, that means it gives time wise targets, it sets milestones both in terms of public financing and program impacts. Both in terms of public financing and program impacts. The policy commits, as I have already told you, the government to increase public spend on health care from the current 1.15% to 2.5% of GDP by 2025 and sets a floor of 8% of state budget for states to meet by 2020. So, these conditions are kept in the national health policy, right. While it still is focused on putting in place a tax financed system where the government is the single player, while it still is focused on putting in place a tax financed system where the government is the single player. It made emphasis on the government sector. The meaning of this is tax financed means tax finance, government tax finance to government institutions. So, tax financed system means it gave focus on government hospitals, at the same time it acknowledges means to accept or recognize something, or to accept the truth or existence of something. Acknowledge means to accept or recognize something, or to accept the truth or existence of something is acknowledge. So, here the health policy acknowledges, that means it recognizes that ensuring healthcare access for all will require working with the private sector and setting priorities. Here it recognized for ensuring universal health access requires working with the private sector also and setting priorities. The aim is to buttress public health, nutrition and the primary health care system. The aim is to buttress. What is the meaning of buttress? This is known as buttress wall. In civil engineering, buttress means this is a wall supporting something, but here in the passage a source of defense or support. Basically, buttress means a source of defense or support. I have given one example, please go through it. The arguments for protectionism. There are several protectionist voices coming up across the globe, especially in Western countries. The arguments for protectionism are buttressed, that means are supported by Donald Trump's victory as well as various happenings across several European countries. So, buttress means to get as a source of defense or support. So, here if you go back to the passage, the aim is to buttress public health, that means support public health, at the same time nutrition. I have already told you nutritious food involves not only carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals. So, it is basically concentrating on public health, the nutrition and the primary health care system. Moving to assured comprehensive care. I have already explained you, comprehensive means to look at the total aspects to solve a problem. When you are looking at the total aspects, that is comprehensive. So, the aim is to buttress public health, to support public health, nutrition and the primary health care system, moving to assured comprehensive care with every family having a health card that makes them eligible for a defined package of services anywhere in the country. So, the goal is every citizen will have health card, electronic health data will be maintained, maybe they will be stored at some place in cloud. So, the electronic health data will be available, then this health card will be given which can be accessed anywhere in the country. If you are from Lucknow, you can access medical treatment in Bengaluru. So, this universal health card will be given and the data will be stored electronically. So, this is a comprehensive care because the government has taken all the aspects into consideration, right. So, here you may have a doubt, what is the difference between primary health care, secondary health care, tertiary health care? Several times you come across these words. Primary health care means that is basically village hospitals or small towns, or you can say major villages. You will have this public health centers or primary health centers. If you have fever, you will go to primary health center, and secondary health centers are basically situated in district headquarters and major towns. Secondary health care is basically in major towns. The facilities like CT scan and some diseases which cannot be cured in rural areas, they will come to secondary health care. And tertiary health care is super specialty hospitals. Super specialty hospitals means if a person is suffering from a difficult disease like liver cancer, maybe some tumor in the brain, and some heart surgery. These things can happen only in super specialty hospitals. So, the tertiary healthcare is normally super specialty, and All India Institute of Medical Sciences is one classic example of tertiary healthcare. So, primary, secondary, tertiary, right. Now, let us come back to the passage. Ensuring improved access, more access and affordability. Most important thing is affordability of secondary and tertiary care. So, I just now explained secondary and tertiary care, and it should be affordable. If a person is suffering from some disease and if some treatment like bypass surgery is to be done, they should not charge 3 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees, something like that. It should be affordable. So, here ensuring improved access and affordability of secondary and tertiary care, the public hospital system, the government hospital system will be supplemented by the strategic government purchase of secondary and tertiary care from public, not for profit, private and private providers in that descending order. So, here secondary and tertiary health care will be prioritized first from public government hospitals, then second category is not for profit private hospitals, then the third priority is private providers. Here government realized that only government hospitals cannot take up universal health care in the country. So, private hospitals must also be engaged. Government acknowledged this fact. So, the public hospital system will be supplemented. Supplemented means something that is done as an addition to an activity. Supplementing, that means something which is done as an addition. Here you see ICDS. ICDS means this Integrated Child Development Services, and this basically takes care of nutrition requirements from 0 to 6 years as well as pregnant women and the mothers whoever are giving breastfeeding. So, here supplementary nutrition, that means extra nutrition, additional nutrition required. Strategic means here geographically we use this word strategic, that means Turkey is in strategic location. At the same time, strategic relates to the way a country or company decides what it wants to achieve. Strategic decision. Going for digital transactions is the strategic decision of Narendra Modi government to curb this corruption. So, strategic means relates to the way a country or company decides what it wants to achieve. So, here the public hospital system will be supported or supplemented by the strategic government purchase of secondary and tertiary care from public, not for profit private and private in that decreasing or descending order. Right. Look at the next paragraph. The idea is to curb, right. What is the meaning of curb? Curb means to limit something that is not wanted. Curbing the wasteful expenditure must be the need of the hour. So, curb means to limit something that is not wanted. So, here the idea is to curb the high proportion of out of pocket healthcare expenses. Most important. Several families are going into debt trap because of this out of pocket expenditure. As I have already told you, this 72% expenditure of this 4 lakh crores of rupees is coming from households. Maybe 5%, 6% is paid by insurance companies. Otherwise, almost 65 to 70%, that means around 2,80,000 crores of rupees is coming from the pockets of the people. That is known as out of pocket expenditure, that is pushing several people into poverty, right. So, here the paragraph says the idea is to curb high proportion of out of pocket healthcare expenses, often as much as 70%. Just now I have shown you. The focus on preventive care, finds expression in terms of cross-sectoral goals such as the reduction of what is meant by preventive health care. You see, we normally talk about ill health once we fall prey to ill health. But in our country, the biggest problem is this preventive health care has not taken roots. How to prevent diseases, how to prevent illness. So, this national health policy has given focus on preventive health care also in terms of cross-sectoral goals such as reduction of tobacco usage. If tobacco usage is reduced, then what will happen? Diseases will be reduced. Improved sanitation, government kept the target of giving 100% sanitation by 2020. Addressing occupational injuries, some occupational injuries, if proper care is taken in the machinery, then these can be reduced. So, the new health policy is taking care of this 100% sanitation, at the same time controlling tobacco use and at the same time reducing occupational hazards. So, when a person is working with a machine, safety aspect must be implemented 100%. So, the national health policy is also looking at this preventive health care. There is some detailing on improving health infrastructure and human resource. There is some detailing in the policy on improving health infrastructure and human resource, increasing availability of doctors. Doctors availability will be increased. Improvements and regulation in medical education. This is the biggest problem in our country, and it promises improvements and regulation in medical education also, and putting in place health management information systems. So, all these will be improved. The policy needs an array of supportive laws. Array means number of products of similar type is called array. Array means a large number of products of similar type. So, here array of supportive laws are required. Supportive laws, regulations and agencies yet to be created. So, similar laws to achieve this objective, that is why he used array. So, array of supportive laws, regulations and agencies yet to be created. Further, the use of market methods to align incentives of private providers and patients remains under explored. The use of market methods, what the market is following, basically incentives to align incentives of private providers and patients remains under exploited. And here align means to get or fall in line, that means to align with something means here to change so as to have correct relationship with something else. The governance aspects must be aligned with social development, equity and growth. Incentive means something that encourages a person or organization to do something. So, here we talked about the national health policy. Finally, the national health policy says that implementation is the key. There are several aspects which are in the right direction, but there are several aspects which are difficult to ensure. Eliminating tuberculosis by 2025, providing 100% sanitation by 2020. These things may be difficult to achieve, but here the resources are sparse, they are not sufficient. So, the government has to make extra efforts to realize the dream, or you can say to walk the talk. So, the heading itself is to walk the talk, right. We learned about national health policy and at the same time out of pocket expenditure, primary care, secondary care, tertiary care, and tomorrow we are going to deliberate on one important aspect of battery storage for renewable power. Battery storage for renewable power. This is the Economic Times editorial of 29th March. So, tomorrow we will deliberate on this, right friends. So, have a nice day. Thank you.